On this week's episode, we're going to discuss Mozilla making some unpopular decisions again. So we'll give our take on what's happening and whether or not the criticism they're getting is fair. Welcome to Destination Linux, where we discuss the latest news, hot topics, gaming, mobile, and all things open source and Linux and tech in general at this point. My name is Michael, and joining me are my partners in trying to make sense of this crazy world we call tech, Jill and Ryan.
Hello, everyone.
What's up, yo?
I appreciate the fact that you said "What's up, yo?" because I put that as like a filler that you could change.
As a filler that I was supposed to change, but
you could have changed.
You know, I leave default, and I left it default.
You did leave it default. I respect it. Also, this week's Pine64 recently shared some news about bringing their Pine Note back from the depths of Hades, not the game. The underworld.
Nice callback, though.
Yeah.
Plus, we got some Linux gaming, we got some software spotlight, and more. So let's get this show on the road toward Destination Linux. Our feedback this week comes from LC. They have this to say. I was wondering what kind of advice you would have for a 17-year-old kid just out of high school wanting to get into a career of system administration. I just completed a summer internship, but now I'm kind of feeling lost as to what I should do next. I've got a lot of experience with Linux for my age, but I'm having some trouble differentiating myself from other job candidates.
This is a really good question, and appreciate you sending it in, LC. So, great career choice, by the way. And that kind of goes into my first piece of advice to you is do not get distracted by the naysayers or the current economic trends out there. Is probably the most important advice I could give you. A lot of times people get passionate about something like you are with system administration, but then they quickly get discouraged because people in the field share their negative experiences, whether it's on Reddit or other places you go where there are system admins, or any career for that matter. Or you see things on the news that the job's no longer in demand, or the job's being shipped overseas, or being a system administrator is just not a great career path. And this goes for any title. I'm not just saying system admins here.
It goes for any industry too, because people like to be naysayers and negative people all the time. I mean, for example, Jill. I mean, she's probably the most negative on the show.
Negative. So negative, and somehow we push through with our positivity.
We keep the show positive despite Jill.
Yeah, despite Jill's negativity. If you're passionate about something and you enjoy it, these factors will have of other people or other trends or economic downturns and things will have no impact on your ability to be successful. And that also goes to your question of how do you stand out amongst other people. I've told this story before, but I think it's important in this context as well, is there was a guy I worked with who was really into watches. I'm talking about the manual tick watches. And I could care less about a watch, like I have a digital watch. It tracks my workouts. Yay. That's what I need it to do. But he was so passionate about these watches and how every dial was so intricately, handcrafted, and how all the gears worked inside and how they were made and where they were made and who made it and all of these things, that by the time I was done listening to him talk, I was like, dang, I want one of those watches. So that passion.
Now the real question is, did you get one of those watches?
No, I'm not spending $1,000. Like when I saw the prices, I was like, nah. Like I wanted one because of his passion, but when I went and looked up the prices, I'm like, no.
Passion can only get you so far.
Yeah, passion only get you so far in that case.
In that case of convincing
in that context. But my point is that when you go into these interviews, when you're talking with somebody, there are moments where I've hired people on the spot, and it was because of the passion they had for what they were wanting to do. And there are several instances that I can think of right off the top of my head of interviews where they didn't necessarily have the best skill set, but their passion was so strong. I was like, so when do you want to start? And that's kind of how it went. Now, this economic downturn that we're in with anything tech is going to be a hurdle that you have to overcome like anybody else. But I think that if you have that positivity, if you're truly passionate about this, it's going to make you far ahead of other candidates in there. Second is experience. Books and courses that you've went through, they're great, certificates, those things, but definitely set up your own home server environment. You don't have to go crazy. You can build it piece by piece and focus on a mixture of devices from Windows, Linux, and mobile integrations so that you can get that experience. You can go used equipment. There's no reason to just go buy a whole bunch of thousands of dollars of new equipment. In fact, I'd highly recommend you don't, because most of the places you're going to be a system admin are probably going to have older hardware, not brand new stuff in there anyways. There's also virtual environments, cloud services. So if you have a smaller place, you can't get that type of equipment, that would be your next best option. But I really feel like hands-on makes a huge difference in these cases, being able to touch those servers, power on those servers, and do those type of things. And then third, I would get involved in communities of system admins. Open source projects are a great place to get your name out there and involved with communities like Canonical, Red Hat, SUSE, that they could be your future employers, frankly. But right now, in these economic situations that we're in, and even outside of them, the most powerful candidates are the ones that have built a network. So you could be the most skilled person, system administrator, even at 17, that's ever been alive, and never get a job offer because nobody knows who you are. And so that's where, if you have connections and you start making friends, and that's where open source is so amazing, because you can work with some of the greatest programmers and minds that are out there.
Mm-hmm. And you don't have to do that much to get involved in it. You can just ask them to let you participate in stuff.
Yep.
And in some cases, they'll ask you to submit, some kind of code or whatever. In other cases, they'll just be like, hey, yeah, if you want to learn, I'll help you learn. Because a lot of the people who are in the open source space are also willing to help because they're already helping by making the open source software. So they're also already have that mindset to help others. And I think that what you said about, getting some experience is important, but I also wanted to kind of just a little bit of because that always has how do I get the experience if I can't get the job in order to get the experience and that sort of stuff. And I think that we should make a very important point here. Now, this individual, we're talking about in a broader scale, but this individual is only 17. So you have plenty of time to do other internships and to other things to get access, but you can also just request to various different companies or whatever kind of project you want to be involved in, what kind of, structure you want. If you want to be a sysadmin and that kind of thing, you can offer to help other companies that are, a mom and pop shop, like a small company that doesn't really have the ability to do that. And you can just offer it as a thing that you'll do on the side and just get some experience that way, so you can kind of get your foot in the door and that sort of thing. But I think Ryan's point about networking is probably the best part, because the easiest way to get a job is to know someone who has a job available, or at least has a connection with a job available. And in the future, maybe not early stages, because at 17, it doesn't sound like you're even in the full market yet. But at some point, that will come in handy very well.
What's really hard in this current environment, too, is that a lot of employers want you to have all the schooling and certificates, and then they want you to give experience, but they don't want to hire new people on who don't have experience. So how do you get experience?
Yeah. Right.
And again,
an egg.
open source is the key. I think you can get your experience there. Your internships, fantastic. Make sure you're recording the work that you do, literally write it down, all the work that you accomplish when you're at something, whether it's open source, an internship.
Create some kind of note-taking system and put it all in there.
Think about all the great things that you've done or accomplished. And if they're not so great, exaggerate them a little bit till they are great. And then my final...
just real quick, you're right about the exaggerate. The way you phrase something, absolutely, you can say, I did this one commit for this project. Okay? So let's say, for example, people have heard of KDE and the window manager in KDE, KWin. It's a huge, important piece of KDE Plasma, right? And I could say, well, I submitted a single commit to KWin, and I have got my name in the commit log one time. And or I could say, I have contributed for the KDE Plasma Window Manager KWin, and I did something very big to help the usability of everyone who is controlling their system in a way that gives them the power of using window rules. That's all. All of that is true. both of those versions are true. One just sounds a little better. And the key point here is you can exaggerate the way you say it as long as it's still true.
Yep. And my final piece of advice is seek the uncomfortable. And this is after 25 years now of working for corporate America. I find that looking for things that people hate doing the most and mastering it is the quickest way to get a leg up on everybody. Because if you notice, most admins, maybe if you go into a work environment, when you do get a position or something, find the things that they don't like to do. Maybe it's the command line. Maybe it's a certain piece of equipment nobody else wants to touch because it's old and it's archaic and it's really hard to program in. Maybe it's the Macarena. If they're weak in security, you notice, like, go after the things everybody else is uncomfortable with and master that, and you will absolutely stand out, even in your internships. Or if you actually, get a full-time position, it's just good advice to look for the things other people don't want to do. It's a great way to make a name for yourself out there. So those are my pieces of advice. Congratulations, by the way, on all the incredibly hard work that you've done to this point, and for reaching out to us to ask these type of questions, which I think is brilliant. And now, Jill, what do you think about this? What are some of your tips?
Ryan, you are so on, and your answers were perfect. And the same with Michael, too.
But mostly me, right?
Mine were better.
And speaking of networking, attending local Linux conferences is a great idea to network, to look at job boards. Some of them even have career expos like we do at the Southern California Linux Expo. So that's a great place to go, your local conventions. And in regards to old equipment, you can actually pick up old Xeon Blade servers from the likes of Dell and HP, from Amazon or eBay, really cheap, anywhere starting from $100 and up, and inexpensive server racks from Amazon starting at $90. This would be a great way to learn how to administrate servers for businesses. And also, inexpensive Dell, HP, or Lenovo workstations work great for that too, as well as old Dell Optiplexes. There's lots of those floating
There's
around.
so many of those.
You can get them literally for $30.
I think this is great for anybody who is not 17. But if you could get like a free trial with DigitalOcean or something like that, or like Linode, and try to play with some virtual servers too. So that's an option as well. But I do think that's a good option if they have the ability to do that sort of thing. So
what I like about the physical equipment too is you can take a picture of it if you set it up nicely, and that's something that you could bring into an interview. Like, I have my own home server. Probably everyone they interview might say that's around your age and things like that. So you actually having a picture of it set up and working well and what you're doing with it, I think will make a difference there. Like, if you have a picture and your desk is all messy and it's got servers all over the place and wires running to the ceiling, and then you're like, I want to be a sysadmin. And like, I don't know. But if you got a nice setup,
actually, that doesn't mean you would still work.
Like, that looks like our server room.
That looks like you have done this years beyond your.
Now you're wanting to be a server admin, so you want to talk about a lot of things you're doing with it. Like, why did you set it up? What are some of the security things that you've set up? User pieces you've set up, that type of stuff. But anyway, sorry, Jill, continue.
Oh, no problem. All great. And actually, another tip of mine is learning how to build computers, which I'm sure Elsie has already probably worked on. But that will actually put you a step ahead. And there are many reasons why. There are times we have to fix the systems because they go down, or you have your RAM dies or your power supply dies. So learning how to fix those, because there are some administrators that only do software and they can't fix the hardware. So it's really good to have that balance.
I also think that the thinking process of repairing something, like, there is a whole thought process of being able to troubleshoot something correctly.
Your hardware.
And as a sysadmin, that's what you're going to be doing, and getting your mindset into that troubleshooting. Like, what's the factor that's causing this machine to break and things is a very, very good talent to keep practicing.
Yeah.
If you don't keep practicing it, you kind of lose it a little bit.
Yeah. So
true.
Elsie, years ago when I was a student studying animation, I had actually collected lots of old Sun and Deck Alpha servers whenever I could. And I got them at swap meets and and all kinds of places I could get them inexpensively. And I built computers for rendering to create my own render farm. And in doing so, it helped me learn not only server administration, but animation server administration and building high-end workstations, which put me way ahead because there's a lot of administrators who don't know the animation side of it. It's a whole nother beast.
Yep, absolutely.
It's a whole nother
You sought the
beast.
uncomfortable. I love it.
Yeah. And so, this turned out extremely useful for when I was, a professional animator working in Hollywood and teaching animation, because not only could I do animation effects, rendering, and editing, but administrate servers as well and the computers and workstations. And that, put me ahead as a freelance animator in the industry because I could set up servers for businesses and build the computers needed to render at my home studio and for businesses when needed. And actually, one of my very first jobs I had, I had to do a commercial, and they often a lot of the animation houses, they give those jobs to freelancers because they don't have the time to finish them in time. They can't do it in house quick enough because they're working on other projects.
Right.
So, in order for me to finish this project and get it rendered on time, I had to build two, and guess what computers they were? 486s. I built two extra 486s
Nice.
in 1997. So that even the 486 helped me get the rendering done quicker, so I could turn in the job, and I turned it in 2 hours early, and they were one of my best customers after that, and ended
That's
up
awesome.
getting nominated for an Emmy for that one. So
Hey,
Of course you did.
oh my gosh, Jill was what? By the way, for those interested, I know Jill doesn't want to talk about, but the company she did the commercial for was Head On, applied directly to forehead. Head
Right.
On,
She
applied directly to forehead.
showed she was doing the animation of the head on.
Yeah, the Head On.
Y'all remember that annoying commercial? Like,
Yeah.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh.
Yes.
Anyways, that the kids won't know what we're talking about. Sorry.
By the
Elsie.
way, there was a scientific reason why they did that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It was
Yeah.
say it enough, it annoys people, and eventually it becomes funny, which you've proven that after 20 years or whatever.
I don't even know if it's a product anymore. But
No,
man,
it's not a product. It was actually pulled for not working,
Oh, yeah.
not doing anything.
Sorry, Jill. Give your great advice. Elsie's like
It was chapstick for your forehead, for those who don't know what it is.
Aw. No problem. And here's something other interesting is I was literally the first female freelancer that these companies had ever worked with. Most of them, is a male dominant industry, and most of them hadn't worked with a woman. And when they found out I could build the computers that could finish rendering their projects, they were like, "Oh, okay." That put me way ahead,
You know how most people are like, in my next life, I want to be a dog. I want to be Jill. I want to be Jill in my next life. I just want to have that kind of life where I can be like, look, I was nominated for an Emmy. I was in Hollywood producing animation.
So we have done, Jill has been on this show for about 4 years, almost 4 years. Yeah, I guess not. I think it's like 4 years and like a month or two.
Mm-hmm.
And we still, to this day, learn things about Jill that make us go like, what? How? What?
As opposed to me, where I could tell you everything exciting that's happened to me in about 4 minutes. Jill's on year 4, and we're still learning.
We're still learning things, and mine at about 6.5 minutes.
Yeah, that's
just because I wanted
to get words out.
I wanted to suggest. Oh, it's probably because it would take me longer. Yeah.
Oh, not true. You guys have amazing stories. Everyone has their own journey, and everyone has their own journey in Linux. And
Jill, stop being so negative. We told people earlier.
Nice reversal. All right, Jill.
And I have one more piece of advice for Elsie. Elsie, it's not too early to build a resume and put it online to do professional interviews with companies now while you're in school. and college in the future so you can get the experience interviewing and see what skills the companies want. And
there's also like mock interviews too. That's a good idea.
Yeah. I had interviewed with several animation houses before I graduated to get the experience. So that was really, really great. And this is something that I also taught animation for 30 years. And it's one of the things I would stress to my students, make those practice, do a resume and do those practice interviews.
Yeah.
That's good. And also just a quick note, I've been mostly reacting to your ideas and stuff, but I did have one of my own. And that is, when you're getting started, this applies to anyone, especially people who are getting started into careers, but it applies to anyone who's looking for a job. There is going to be a time where you're going to receive the answer that no one likes, and that is no. And by time, I mean frequently, almost constantly, because that's the typical reaction that people have just by default when they're being critical of something. It's usually on a negative starting point. So don't look at it as this is a proof that I'm not good enough or anything like that, because no is just, you're just going to have to get used to it. And in the marketing world and in the sales world, where I've done lots of work, there is a saying that if you don't get a no on your first time, you have somehow broken through this magic aura of life, that please share your wisdom, because it's almost a guarantee that you'll get 100 no's before you get the first yes.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
So true, Michael. Don't get depressed. There will be that time when someone says yes, and they'll see your passion and say, yes, I want you on my team.
There's this great moment, Michael. That's such a good point. And there's this great moment in a book. Stephen King wrote a biography, and he was talking about his first book, which was Carrie. And he had submitted it to publishers, and he had a nail on the wall. And everyone that rejected, he would put the rejection letter on the nail on the wall, to the point where the nail got so full, there was no more room to put any more rejection letters for the book that eventually became a movie and all that. He took the book and threw it in the trash. His wife took it out of the trash and sent it in to one of the people he hadn't sent it in, and that publisher picked it up. And that, to me, is a fascinating story of, number one, how important a supportive spouse can be. But number two, that
just having a support system of any
is
kind
considered one of the greatest writers of all time, and was
especially of our
so
generation,
sick of being told no for a fantastic book that became a movie. Michael, that advice is fantastic. Especially in this environment where we now have AI reviewing resumes and all this type of stuff.
Just real quick, I know from experience, as I have talked about on a previous episode, I was let go from my job due to the current economy of nightmarish, but the amount of no's that I've received is just enormous, to the point that sometimes they'll do it so quickly that there's no way that they read the resume. It's just like an auto filter thing, and it's definitely concerning, and it makes you feel a little bit down. But just know that this is the thing that just happened even before this current climate. It's going to happen anyway, because no is a thing that people have to get used to hearing in order to power through, in order to get to the yes. And that's just an unfortunate reality, I guess. But in the sales world, you hear it every day. When you're trying to get a job, you'll hear it still pretty frequently. So just keep that in mind, and you will get something as long as you continue to push through.
So, Elsie, fantastic question. I hope some of this advice helps you. Other people out there, if you're looking for a job, I hope it helps you.
Just real quick, the final,
no, Michael.
Yes. Yes.
Wow, look how he did it. He did it live.
See, I just ignored his no. But there's a saying that I remembered that I wanted to give you. Now, it's modified by different people. I don't know what the original was, but the one I say, which is basically the same message, it's just a different way of saying it, is that the answer is always no if you don't ask the question. So you will get no's, but if you don't try, you already got a no. So that's why trying is the most important piece.
Very good.
Fantastic.
Well, we want you, the community, to send in your advice. If you have some advice for LC, if you're a system administrator and you're looking for someone to maybe come in as an intern or even as a job, you're looking for some buddy to help, let us know. We can get that over to LC. So send in your questions, comments, thoughts on the advice to destinationlinux.net/comments or destinationlinux.net/forum. By the way, on our forum, we do have a job section there where people can post jobs that they find online and hopefully help you land your next job. We know it's tough out there. Speaking of tough out there, our hearts are going out to all the people in Florida, North Carolina, Georgia.
Just real quick, for those who are looking at the video and thought I was laughing at this, I thought he was going towards Mozilla. Well, speaking of,
you thought I was spinning that towards the next story,
Mozilla. Yeah. I was like, that's funny, but then you're like, okay, genuinely,
truly, we our hearts go out to all those people out there impacted. I have family in Florida right now. It's going down right now as we're recording, so I'm kind of watching this live and things. So, and I know a lot of you have friends, family, and other stuff out there. So be kind to each other, support each other out there. A lot of crazy stuff going on right now, and of course, we have listeners across the country, and I know there are other atrocities going on there. Same thing. Like, world's tough right now, man. It's just really not fun. So
love and hugs to everyone, and penguins too.
And penguins too. Oh my gosh, Jill, you're so cute. It's ridiculous. All right, now let's get into our main topic. Mozilla hasn't had a lot of wins lately. I can't think of a lot of wins for them. The last big win I remember is container tabs. That's the last time I was like, man, Mozilla's killing it out there. And unfortunately, they're not making many fans with their latest decisions, but we're going to try.
The sync service is kind of okay, right?
I mean, I said made fans and big wins. I don't know.
Oh, wins. Okay. You're not thinking about like what's a good thing that they did. You're talking about like what was like, oh yeah, great. Yeah, it was probably container tabs.
But we're going to do is try to look at the situation without blinders on to see if it's worth getting our pitchforks out or not. So we do have our pitchforks.
I would like to put blinders on.
Michael's is in his corner. Jill's is behind the door. I've got mine over there. We've got our pitchforks ready in case we need them. But we're gonna go through this latest news and see if we're gonna pull them out. So Mozilla published 2 blogs on October 3rd.
How dare you publish a blog? Get my pitchfork.
Michael, you're little. You're jumping the gun.
Was that too early?
Pitchfork. Yeah, you gotta let it build up.
Michael and Ryan, I don't own a pitchfork.
Jill, don't tell people that.
We don't either, Just.
Do you think I own a pitchfork? She's like, look at him. He clearly owns a pitchfork. No. You can just look at him and tell.
The only way he got those muscles is because he'd pick up bays of hail with his pitchfork.
Yeah, I was going to say, I do have something like it in the garage, but
Wait, bales of hay. What? So I don't know what I just said, but I'm pretty sure I mixed the words together in this weird jumble. So anyway,
it worked.
So Mozilla published 2 blogs on October 3rd. One from Mark Surman, president of Mozilla, titled "A Free and Open Internet Shouldn't Come at the Expense of Privacy." I mean, you can't get mad at that. And follow-up piece from CEO Laura Chambers titled "Improving Online Advertising Through Product and Infrastructure."
That would also be good.
So let's start with Mark's piece real quick, and I'm going to summarize. It was a nice read. I suggest you go read it. We'll have it in the show notes. He starts out by saying essentially advertising is broken. Totally agree with that. It's important to fix it because it's a fundamental way for sites to get funding, which I also agree with. I know there's a lot of people who have been so honestly, it's because advertising has been so abusive, and they have been, that people are so frustrated. Their only option in their minds is just kill it all. And I get that. If you're there and you're that frustrated, I get it. But this is also true. What Mark's saying is that a lot of great sites would not exist without funding. So we've got to figure out a way to fund things. And there are 3 areas they're focusing on as a part of this. Regulation, which is supporting and introducing regulations that protect privacy. Standard setting. So Mozilla is actively involved in advancing cutting edge proposals for privacy preserving advertising. So the question is, can you do advertising correctly in a way that doesn't violate people's privacy? And this includes collaborating with the Interoperable Private Attribution, or IPA, and contributing to Private Advertising Technology Community Group, which is the PATCG, and products like Total Cookie Protection and Enhanced Tracking Protection, with the goal to build a model to demonstrate how ads can sustain a business online while respecting people's privacy. And it wraps up by saying advertising isn't going away, so let's find a way to make it private and safe. So this I fundamentally agree with. Like, I know some of you out there like, no, they've abused too much. I'm done. I don't want any advertising. I block everything and all of that. But you're also killing off a lot of content that way. Just being honest. Maybe
just
you don't
real
care.
quick, if you don't know, the show uses advertising to exist. Because if we have, we at the moment, we're not having sponsors because this is a interesting advertising world we're in now. But this, like the YouTube ads and stuff like that, we need to have that sort of thing to be able to make this show go. And this applies to, your favorite website, your favorite blogger, like all this sort of stuff. It's not like we can all, do everything for free. The open source idea is fantastic, and it is. But everyone typically has being paid by someone to do something in order. Maybe it's not even related, but it's still there. Money, unfortunately, runs the world. So,
and Mozilla's in an interesting spot right now, which we'll get into a little bit. Now, Laura came out with a little more punch, stating up front Mozilla is going to be more active in digital advertising and how this will work with Firefox and their acquisition of Anonym. Anonym. It's more than one syllable. I'm done. I'm tapping out.
It's also it's half of anonymous, or 75% of anonymous.
Anonym states it's a privacy-preserving digital advertising company that they acquired, and here's how it works. It's a secure environment. Data sets are matched in a highly secure environment, which what does that mean? I don't know. Ensuring advertisers, publishers...
It's an environment that is highly secure. Duh.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's got like a padlock on the outside of it. And Anonym don't access any user-level data, and anonymize analytics, process results, and anonymize insights and models, helping advertisers measure and improve campaign performance.
That's good.
While safeguarding consumer privacy, and then differential privacy algorithms that add noise to the data, protecting it from being traced to individual users. Why is the noise important? Because sometimes you're looking up things that are so obscure that it would be easy, like only maybe 500 people will look for that same thing. I'm just using a random example here. And that makes it very easy for advertisers to pinpoint you and figure it out. So,
and also the noises, in this case, the noise is added automatically based on what data they have. And no one sees the individual data. They only see the aggregate, and they only see the stuff with the noise. And once the noise is created, the individual data is destroyed, they say. So that's an important note. Also they say yes, but that's the whole this is probably going to be open source because Mozilla purchased it. But the idea of it
ain't, though. That'd be a problem,
well, yes, that's fair.
Yeah. So the company the company M&M's was founded in 2022 by former Meta executives Brad Smallwood and Graham Mudd. The article ends with, as we integrate M&M's into the Mozilla family, we're excited about the possibilities this partnership brings. While M&M's will continue to serve its customer base together, we are poised to lead the industry toward a future where privacy and effective advertising go hand in hand, supporting a free and open internet. Did I just advertise for M&M's?
Yes. Right there. And also it's important that the advertising go hand in hand and melt in your mouth, not in your hand.
So none of this seemed really bad to me. However, when I was thinking about this, there's a trust issue, and people were getting really upset about this. A lot of people are on forums talking about finding alternatives, and they're like, well, what is there as an alternative? Which is a great question.
It's Chrome and stuff that's not been updated.
And then there's Brave, which you could be like, oh, Brave. But keep in mind, Chrome. Brave has their own little advertising thing they're doing with cryptocurrency. I don't know how it all works anymore.
And they're also based on Chromium, so you're still giving Google the power. So either way.
So you recently, Mozilla even got accused of tracking users without their consent. This was part of their partnership with Meta, where they included something called PPA, which is privacy preserving attribution, which sounds really nice.
It does.
But allegedly, it was turned on automatically, enabled in Firefox 128.
It's also important to note that the organization, it's a digital rights group from Europe that is called the NYOB, or None of Your Business, which
None your
name.
business. They should just change it to None your business.
Nunya business.
None your business. None your business.
They
that
should
would be a better name. That'd be way better.
And actually, they would just be like, every time they would refer to it, we would just call it Nunya. 100% do this. Just
Man.
if
We
this
just
is a great
up.
marketing opportunity for you. Just
You're
so you
welcome, None your business.
You're welcome, Nunya.
Nunya.
But they filed a complaint about this PPA, or the privacy protecting or preserving attribution, and they're saying that it enables Firefox to store data on users' like ad interactions and bundle that information for advertisers and that sort of stuff. And they're also claiming that it was enabled by default. However, based on statements from Mozilla, they say that it was not enabled by default. It was installed by default automatically with Firefox 128, but it wasn't turned on. It was only in a small testing for the developers network of Mozilla. And I also tested it. I did not have it on by default. And other people I searched for different forums, and there were like the comments for the article that we're going to have linked in the show notes from Bleeping Computer, which is, by the way, fantastic name. Always love that. And then there's a bunch of people commenting, like 80% of them said it was not turned on. And a few said they were had it turned on, but it's kind of hard to tell if they were in maybe if using a developer version.
Yeah,
maybe if the developer build of Mozilla, you might get it turned on. But none people who said that it was turned on didn't give any more information about that. So that's kind of hard to say. But
happened.
80% didn't.
That's how I feel. Picture it didn't happen. I just feel like at this point, this is Mozilla's fault, in my opinion. That even if it's true, which it sounds like it is, that Mozilla didn't have this turned on by default, Mozilla has made so many bad calls historically. I'm thinking of this. What's that TV show that was really popular?
The robot, Mr. Robot.
Mr. Robot stuff and things like that.
Okay, here's the thing.
Already made mistakes similar where they've turned things on and weren't supposed to. And now they're like, oh, we did it and we're sorry and we're going to be more transparent now. But
you're not wrong. You're not wrong about this. The problem is that I think saying it's their fault is a little bit too pointed, because I feel like, yes, they have made a mistake, but they didn't do what people are saying they did. And that is in itself a problem, because it's the fault of the people who made this claim saying this is what happened, even though they were wrong, and not coming back and saying, oh,
maybe
our bad.
They were wrong.
Well, based on the user reactions, I wasn't just basing it on Mozilla's, but either way, the point is that what you were saying is correct, because in another way at the same time too, because with Mozilla doing these things in the past, doing things that are kind of maybe not sketchy, but questionable. They've done multiple things that are questionable, and you go like it just kind of makes you feel like, what are you doing? Why are you doing these things? And just to have a recommendation for Mozilla, if you're looking for someone who is a marketing professional and a PR professional, I'm currently unemployed at the moment. So feel free to give me a call or send an email and that sort of stuff, because you need it.
Yeah. You need it bad.
You need it.
I think, Mozilla's
none of you are doing it right now.
No, nice. I think, I struggle with this because Mozilla's done so many good things for the internet. And they have been pioneers for a lot of us for the privacy movement and things.
Yeah.
And you've got Google here, who is now being sued because of them paying companies to make them the default search engine, and a whole antitrust thing going on. And so what this means is that currently, as I understand it, Mozilla, one of their primary, and when I mean primary, I think it's like
90,
70% or higher
I think
of their
90,
money comes in from Google.
Yeah.
And them paying Google to be the default search engine.
Yeah.
So this is likely to end. And when it does end, this means that a lot of great people who've done a lot of great work for privacy will lose their jobs, likely. Because what else are you going to do? I mean, as a company, to bring in money. I wish they would have gone more into services that they were making and selling, because I would love to, like DuckDuckGo, I pay monthly because of their privacy essentials tools and things. Like I would love to pay Mozilla monthly if they had something that was cool. Now they have a VPN and things, but
something that was actually worth buying.
And actually
the most
worked on Linux when you released it would have been nice too.
Yeah.
Like, really?
And also
Mozilla?
the fact that they just now started supporting Linux on the browsers, because it's been open source forever. So anybody could have Firefox on Linux, and it's always been here. However, it was never maintained by Mozilla. They only started doing that like in the past couple of years. And that blows my mind. You know, I feel like I don't know for a fact if this is true, but I feel like it was probably Firefox that introduced me to the idea of open source, you know, like way back in the day.
And Windows. Yeah.
And this was it's interesting thing because it's like, I want Firefox to be the dominant browser. At one point, it was on the way to do that, and it was at like 60% usage. And then Chrome came out and started like kicking it in the face. Yeah. And I feel like the problem is that Mozilla doesn't really have like an actual vision of what they want to do.
That's so true.
And it just feels like they're
or if they do, nobody knows what it is. So
well, yeah, but
again, why they need you.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like they're trying to just grab at random things. And like they talked about how they were trying to fix the advertising world in the past couple of years. And like, why did you wait till now? Like, this is something, in my opinion, Mozilla should have their own ad network. They should build an ad network that competes with Google. Point. And then they could have like, yes, there's another key thing about business and entrepreneurship, which I have also done. Do not have all your eggs in one basket. If Google is the dominant player of paying you and you funding your entire organization, at any point, they could just leave and you're screwed. Or in this case, some government will screw you. That's a huge problem to be in. So make some services like Ryan was talking about. And also this ad thing, go all out. Make an ad network that is privacy respecting. And then people could use that instead of Google and then trying to have this thing on the top layer that's sort of manipulating the ads and whatever you're trying to do. How about do both and just compete in a real way?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great. You know, they just don't have many funding options right now. So to me,
by the way,
you know,
just real quick, you're a great point, Jill. And saying that makes me instantly think, well, you could get some like tech money, the Silicon Valley investing money to battle against Google. I know a lot of people will want someone to battle against Google in the ad space. So just think about it.
Perfect. Yeah. So yeah, like Ryan was saying, they may be losing their Google search funding, you know, with the Google search antitrust lawsuit, which is Mozilla's largest income. So ad revenue does make sense, like Google has done for many years to keep services running. And the CEO of Mozilla, Laura Chambers, actually talked about the importance of keeping privacy their main focus as they build a framework for advertising. And, you know, like we've been talking about today, Mozilla has been a champion in the privacy respecting area a long time with the Mozilla Firefox web browser. And I personally I'm going to have to trust their decision in their use of ads, whether I like it or not, because not doing so means we may no longer have our favorite open source and privacy-focused web browser around Mozilla Firefox. And can you imagine a world with only Chrome-based web browsers? It's scary.
Oh, here's also the saddest part about that is that most people think we're in that world now.
Yeah, I know.
We kind of are.
I know. We kind of are. Yeah. And also, you know, Google Chrome needs competition, and Google wants Firefox to survive to progress web browser innovation. And because
Google
it is
doesn't want to be attacked by being a monopoly. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what happens.
Interest to do so. So, you know, I think their next antitrust lawsuit is going to be their browser itself, because it's killing the likes of Firefox. We're back to Internet Explorer and Netscape all over again.
I feel like one of the reasons they even gave Firefox the funding was that they wanted to not deal with this monopoly thing.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, Microsoft kept Apple afloat. A lot of people don't know that, but they gave a huge amount of money to Apple.
Yeah, they did.
Apple was hurting, and now Apple, of course, trillions of dollars, but that backfired. So the whole thing here
I
is,
think Microsoft's doing okay, though.
Jill, I respect your position of, hey, I want to trust it because I'm in a different position. I am at the point where Firefox needs to prove to me that their words that the CEO is using actually mean something other than words. Because, by the way, those same words get echoed by Google. They get echoed by Facebook and Meta. They get echoed by every executive now that, your privacy is our primary concern.
Yeah.
So like
when I heard Zuckerberg saying that, there's no way.
I think they need to prove that they're going to be transparent, that they're going to tell the community what they're doing, that they're going to explain how these things work, that they're going to make it all open source. And then I'll be like, yeah. Until then, I'm more excited about future projects like Ladybird, which doesn't exist at the moment, but is a very exciting project.
Just so you know, everybody, the reason why he just said it doesn't exist is because he knew that I
Michael went on a huge rant before the show.
He preemptively stopped me from saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't get why the hype exists for a browser that doesn't exist. I understand what they're trying to do. What Firefox can be is to fix all this. That's great.
If they could. But I have more trust in another company now because Firefox has just stumbled so much.
But you're more. I would say you have more open to the idea of another company. But
there you go.
Have you heard of them at all before this?
Shut your mouth, Michael. Here's the thing that Ladybird is bringing in: truly independent, their own engine. So they're doing their own engine. No monetization. They're doing purely by funding, which. Here's the problem. I love this idea. Like you come in, you sponsor, Shopify's a sponsor, Fudo's a sponsor. So they're getting big players to sponsor. As a company that also relies on sponsorships, this tends to have an ebb and flow. Sometimes we're heavily sponsored and the money, and we can pay, all of the different hosts that we have on a network. We can keep our servers online. And sometimes when you go through an economy like this, the sponsors go away. And so Mozilla also probably was heavily sponsored by big company sponsors for a minute there. And then it starts to fade away, like the Google thing and other stuff happens. So I like their idea, but I also think Ladybird, as cool of an idea it is, and as excited as I am to have an alpha in 2026 to test it out. Yes, I said 2026, not 2025.
Alpha in 2026?
This is very early stages.
Exist.
And part of their plan needs to be, how are you going to create an ad network that's privacy enabled that would allow people to be like DuckDuckGo does. Like
what you're saying is that they should do what I'm saying Mozilla should do.
Yes, but Mozilla has no track record of actually accomplishing this because how long have they been saying we're going to create privacy secure ad?
Well, they have created.
System.
They've created a privacy secure ad idea. Like what they're trying to do is actually wrong. What they're trying to do is take something like that is the current invasive ad networks that exist, put something on top to kind of clean it up, and then
so now the ad networks have all the data they already had plus Mozilla's new data that they put on top.
I don't know, but here's the thing: is that only Mozilla is doing this, right? So the privacy protection stuff they do for the ads is only in the Firefox browser. So all of the massive data that is in Google's hands from the Chrome-based stuff doesn't change. These are not affecting those things. So what you actually need to do is create an ad network.
Advertising data. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of the data that I get out there from Google and MasterCard and all these Visa and all these companies.
And then compare it to whatever Mozilla's
has. And I'm going to tie it in there. And now I have all of the data everywhere. So I get their idea. I think there's something that could be done here. I think you need to involve the community because there's a lot of brilliant people in the community who could probably think of a way to do this the right way. And I think you need to be transparent. And I think you need to build that trust back. Until then, there's nowhere for me to go. So I'm still in Firefox, but whatever. Shut up. Anyway.
As a person who's using Firefox, I am a big fan of Firefox. Also,
yes,
there is a new browser that came out. I think it's called Zen browser.
Oh, Zen,
it is a fork of Firefox, but it's one of the best forks I've ever seen. Like, it's very interesting. It's got some really clever stuff.
So good.
Well, a spork is not that. I think sporks are overrated.
Whoa, that's the stupidest thing that's ever come out of your mouth. A spork. Everyone should have a spork.
A spork
Andy.
is useful for multiple things.
Everything.
It is not
good.
It
is the Swiss Army knife.
No, it's not. A Swiss Army knife is a knife. So a spork is not a good spoon because it has holes in it, and it's not a good fork because the fork's prongs are not that big. So it's mediocre at both of those things, but it can do both of those things.
Yeah. Like to
so
see
what
you
we're
do
saying
both of
is,
those things.
Mozilla, don't be the spork of web browsers.
No, be a spork. Sporks are the great deal.
I don't want you to be mediocre at being a browser.
Sporks are the best.
Actually,
right?
I like sporks. I like when I was a little kid getting them at the local Taco Bell.
A very interesting comment. Comments on this particular episode.
Are you on Team Ryan and Jill?
Are you on the spork team, or are you on the team of useful utensils for what they're intended?
I'm going to win this because are you on the team with Jill, or are you on the team with just Michael?
Cheating.
That's cheating. So good. I win automatically.
I like sporks because of Sporky from Toy Story, the last Toy Story movie.
I have a Star Trek spork.
Yeah. Oh, I have one of those too, the metal ones from Thinking.
Yes. So good. Yes, from Thinking. Yeah. That's where I got mine too. Gosh, we're nerds. I love it. Yeah. All right. Speaking of, we've just gone so long. We've got to speed things along here, Michael. And in our news, we've got Pine 64, which I'm really excited for. Talk about a company I trust and I like a lot. Pine 64 at the top, tippity top of that list.
They have some really interesting news.
Yeah.
We haven't heard a lot from them actually in a while.
March.
They have been doing stuff related to like some single system on a chip boards and those little things like Raspberry Pi type things. But we have a great news now because Pine 64 is going to be relaunching their Pine Note, which is an e-ink tablet.
Woo-hoo.
And we had Woocash from Pine 64 on the episode of Destination Linux where we interviewed him about the Pine Note, although that was in 2021. So there's going to be some changes related to that after a couple of years.
In a minute.
Yeah, it's been a minute. So go check out that episode, which we'll have linked in the show notes. I don't remember what number that was, but
Destination Linux episode 239.
Yes, that's what I thought. Jill would probably know.
That's incredible. Why this took so long, though, is there were a lot of supply chain issues. You remember the whole COVID thing where you couldn't get supply. All this that impacted Pine 64 greatly.
What was COVID? I have completely forgot about.
Yeah.
Pandemic.
But I'm excited this has come back.
Era.
This is a really cool device, and they're going to have things like Firefox enabled on it, External for ++ for note taking. And Foliate for reading ebooks, and they're going to have a fully featured Debian-based OS on this to support, which is really cool with Pine 64 because a lot of times they just build the hardware and they kind of let everyone else do the software. This one's got software ready to go, which is really important for this.
Well, I mean, it is also still true that they let someone else do the software,
but it's ready at the same time.
But yes, so the reason why they're bringing it back because someone built the software / firmware for the Pine Note, and now they can bring it out. Yeah. They usually have it like the first thing they did was like the Pine Book, and then the Pine Phone, and they would release it without having any OS at all. So I think this one is good that they waited until there was actually something to use for it because this is only so useful as what software is on it.
Exactly.
This a laptop you could kind of mess with and fix it and do things with it. A phone, maybe not. With this, you have to have something that is a good, solid experience.
You get a 1404 by 1872, 227 DPI was the original, but that may get improved in the new one. But again, we're talking e-ink, grayscale, 16 levels of grayscale. So this is not, you can't compare this to like an iPad. It's not what it's meant for.
You compare it to like a Paperwhite Kindle.
Yeah, something like that. You get a quad core, 4 gigs of RAM. Again, I'm talking about the older specs. We don't have the new specs. There was nothing saying that they were going to refresh it greatly, but I assume there's going to be some changes.
It's got to be
microphones, speakers, Type C, USB port for charging and data. You had front lights on there. So like 36 levels of warm and cold lighting. So really, really cool device out there. So why is this interesting to me, especially right now, is because my boss uses a Remarkable 2. This is an e-ink notebook. You've probably seen their advertising. They advertise very heavily, and it's really nice. It's for note taking is the primary use case. And when I went on a work trip and I was seeing how he was able to organize all of these meetings and things that were going on and tasks that everybody was doing, I was like, man, I want one of these. This is cool, because I was using OneNote work and standard notes at home, and they never merged. And usually with college and everything else I'm doing, I've got these huge lists of to-do things, and I needed to keep it organized.
Yeah.
And so having one device where I could do all of that I could carry with me, that was super thin, and its only purpose was really for note taking, in my case, was very important, because I'm one of those people like, oh, it's got a browser and I can go here in full color and I can look at a YouTube video. We all get distracted, but this has a single purpose. But the Remarkable is like $500 plus. And there's also a subscription on top of it if you want to use their cloud, which, the whole point is you can sync things. So I was like, not having that at that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, nah. I love it. I think if you have that kind of money, like, go for it. But I was looking for something a little cheaper, and it's not super cheap, but I found a Penstar note-taking tablet, which is 10.3-inch e-ink tablet with a Paperwhite display. Comes with the stylus, comes with the magnetic cover, and costs about $360. And there's no subscription fee to integrate with its existing cloud services. And I found that it does fantastic for taking notes. It's very fast. It's very responsive. I want my boss, when we get together again, we're going to compare the two. I have no doubt the Remarkable is probably more responsive, probably even darker colors and things like that. We'll see. Maybe we'll do a video on it. That would be dope. But the writing process is good enough, and I really have found myself incredibly more organized by using this. So, piece of advice, kind of tip of the week right there, to look for something like this. The thing I'm excited about is Pine 64 having a version, because even on the Penstar, one of the weaknesses is its ability to integrate with the other cloud services like DigitalOcean. The sync system sucks. You've got to manually go note by note and upload it to DigitalOcean. Really stupid.
Wow.
Really stupid. Or you can sync to their cloud, which I don't trust. And a lot of this stuff is my personal things as well. So I don't want to sync to their service. I don't know what Penstar's like cloud security is on that thing. I want to use something I know, So I think Pine 64 has an incredible opportunity here. My advice to them is don't make the thing do too much. Like, keep it simple. This is to serve a very specific purpose. You should be able to read PDFs, ebooks, and take notes. Anything else, if you're trying to integrate browsers in a huge way and have it play videos and do all this, I just think it kills the whole point. At that point, you might as well get an Apple iPad. Why do you need this? This is to keep focused. That's where its power is.
I am very interested in this. When they announced it in the first place, I was super interested. And then I had heard of the Remarkable at the time, but I also looked at the price and was like, that's not for me. But the idea of it is fantastic. And I agree that they should not try to do some kind of video solution or whatever. I think that would be pretty problematic. But they are trying to make it super powerful, which the specs they have provided are much more powerful than the other stuff on the market. So if they can have something that's super focused on the note-taking thing with the e-ink thing, where you can also have like an e-reader and all that sort of stuff, which you can take the value of the e-ink and then have it one that is powerful enough to do all sorts of stuff, I think there is a huge, huge market for this. And I would love to play with this kind of thing. Also, real quick, we don't have much news or updates on the Pi Note itself, but they did say they're going to update some of the stuff. Like the stylus is going to be updated so that you don't have to have like a charger for it or anything like that. It's just like a regular stylus. Yeah. So that's great. So they are working on some things, but I suspect that like the next month or so, they'll kind of give us like more information about what's coming with the thing. We don't have an ETA on it yet. And based on the previous version of the Pine Note, who knows? But
when Pine releases
it, is typically really
it'll be
quick
ready
about
to
it.
go. Yeah, it'll be ready to go when they do it. And hopefully we can have them on the show to talk about it. Somehow awesome. We're like already at an hour. We talk too much. Like, I don't know.
I think that it's okay because I mean, there's so many great things to talk about. By the way, I don't know if you know if you know this or your boss knows this, but Remarkable uses a Linux operating system to power their tablet, their
I
e-ink
actually did
tablets.
not know that.
Yeah.
Did not know that. That's
Yep.
That's
incredible.
really cool.
So your boss uses Linux.
Yeah.
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 There we go. And something else I wanted to point out, when we initially did the Pine Note interview with WooCache, we were actually the official media announcement for the Pine Note back in August 16th of 2021.
Who's the marketer here, Michael or Jill? I think it's Jill. Boom.
Well, I mean,
that you
I
did.
was okay. So I facilitated that happening. Jill remembered that part. So as I mentioned that she knew the episode, Jill is the person who facilitates the archive and the history of the show, and
Jill,
I
just tune them out.
show up
Know that
sometimes.
you're the best. You're the best. Jill.
Aww.
all I said was Jill is great, and I show up. That's what I said, but a really long way of saying it.
Oh, and yeah, like you guys said earlier, me and the three of us, we had geek chills, and we all wanted the Pine Note when we were originally talking about it back in 2021. So I am excited that all the issues with cost and the operating system have been resolved with the Pine Note so it can come to fruition. And another interesting thing is they have updated their Pine tablet as well. That's the full color tablet, and that's coming out not in October. So they are doing good things behind.
It's coming out not in
scenes.
October. So when is it coming?
Oh, it's coming out in October.
Oh, okay. I thought you said not in October. I think so, but maybe not.
I'm sorry. It's coming out the end of October. They said
coming out not in October. So
I'm like, oh, okay. Well,
deal with it.
More. We got a little bit of way to the ways. So
yeah.
So this is also cool, but there's something that I'm a huge fan of what they're trying to do at Pine 64 with a lot of their products. I mean, I have a Pine phone. I've had a Pine book, and I think that they have a lot of potential there. The Pine Note looks really cool, and it's probably the thing I'm the most interested in. Mm-hmm. However, I do have some sad news for some people. Originally, the Pine Note was intended to be KDE Plasma. Mm-hmm. But this one is going to be coming with GNOME.
GNOME, yeah.
Such good news.
Sad.
Good job.
Sad news.
Good job. Just because I want to spite Michael, not because it was actually a good job, but just because it upsets Michael. All right, we are like out of time, so we're going to skip the actual mobile news that we had because there's another hot take story that's hit. And I want to cover it.
Yeah.
And we have very little time to do so, but it's really important. I think it's interesting. In fact, this is one of those stories that we're going to give you what we know now, and it's certainly going to evolve and expand. So
and also, we're recording this a couple days before it releases, so there might have been changes once we did this.
Yeah, so feel free to send in your comments, updates, what you find interesting about it. Obviously, the story is subject to change, but what's in the news at this moment today is that hackers in China have breached the networks of several major U.S. internet service providers, including Verizon, AT&T, and Lumen, and they potentially gained access, or allegedly, to court-authorized wiretaps of communication networks, and they've been holding access for months. The hacking group is called Salt Typhoon, and they're linked directly to the Chinese government and is believed to be behind the attacks. The breach has exposed federal communications data related to lawful U.S. wiretapping requests. They've also access, apparently, to general internet traffic beyond just wiretapping. The attack is suspected to be part of an espionage operation aimed at discouraging targets of FBI has, intelligence agencies, Department of Homeland Security. All of this, there are war rooms now going on with the FBI and all of these telco companies to figure out how this has happened and what's going on. Again, this is information we have at this point. And the hacking group's activities had been reported earlier, but they had not known the specific ISPs until now. And again, that is subject to change as well. Why is this really interesting to me? Number one, I'm going to school for cybersecurity, so it's obviously very interesting. But number two is, how many times do we talk on this show and say that when you make a backdoor, it's not just for the person that you hope it's for? So when an ISP or anybody else making a device goes, well, we're going to make this backdoor into our encryption, we're going to make this backdoor into our network that's just for the good guys, guess who also can walk through that door? And this is perfect
Anyone
proof.
who can find it. Yeah. And also, it's
that's
hilarious
exactly what
because this is making us agree with Apple because they said the same thing. We're not going to put a back door in because then bad people could get access to the back door. And why are you making us philosophically agree with Apple?
Yeah, how dare you?
How
We
dare
like, we like oranges on this show.
Exactly. We prefer oranges because they peel better, and actually bananas too. Because I mean, who doesn't love bananas?
Dude, come on. Why you got to bring a banana? Of course, a banana wins. That's stupid.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you bring in a
bananas
banana
are great.
because banana is the most epic kind you can have.
Banana with peanut butter, banana with honey, banana with ice
chocolate.
Cream.
Oh, banana. Chocolate covered banana with nuts on the outside and
Mhm.
frozen. Oh,
And frozen. Also, a banana with chocolate and peanut butter in a milkshake.
oh yeah. That's
Making
good
me
too.
hungry.
I like
I'm
banana
starving
milk.
right now.
That's a. By the way, that's a fantastic combination. If you've never tried it, try it.
All right. So guess what?
Oh wait, we're talking about something, aren't we?
We've gone so long that the audience gets nothing else. They're not getting gaming. They're not getting a software spotlight, and we've kind of already given a tip of the week. So this is your all's fault. First of all, you all have been really up in your game with the community questions, and so that's your fault.
This is y'all's fault.
Yeah.
How dare you give us such good feedback?
You've been giving us great feedback, great
Excellent.
comments that we can riff off of, and so you're being punished for that. Because we've run long again.
We're giving you so much content that it's more than we typically do anyway, but we don't have time for the rest.
We don't have time. The good news is I have to write less next week. So thank you for that. You're actually helping me.
See, look on the positive side of things, Ryan. That's what's that's
so
what
much
you need to
going
learn
on
from
in the
Jill.
world.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Some events coming up. Linux App Summit just happened. So check out the videos from that. You've got Ubuntu Summit, which is happening at the end of this month. Speaking of networking opportunities, if you can find your way to get into the Ubuntu Summit, a lot of geniuses, brilliant people, minds that will be going there. And then Scale 22 X is coming up. So not only they have presenter call already. So if you want to present, we're talking about networking. By the way, one of the things I loved, because I started my career in corporate America when I was 17, is I loved doing presentations and things at that age, because people, when you walk into that room, they're like, oh, here's the person to come refill my water. And then you get on stage and actually give the presentation. It's like a oomph moment, so at 17, find your way to do some presentations at Scale and things like that.
And also, if it goes bad, it doesn't matter, because they're going to be like, well, he's 17. It's okay.
Exactly.
And in particular, we have a youth track at Scale called Scale the Next Generation, which they are looking for people to submit proposals for presentations right now. And these presentations close November 1st. And it's a little less than a month from now.
We have so many young, amazing audience members that listen to our
in
show.
Our community, and that we met at the last Southern California Linux Expo.
By the way, we've been known to give away equipment and stuff like Raspberry Pis and things to some of the youth that listen to our show. So, you want to definitely network with us. That's what I'm saying. Well, Jill mostly.
We're not gonna guarantee giving away hardware and stuff.
We guarantee you could possibly get something
potentially
if we like you, which our standards are very high, so it's not likely. All right, so we're
many qualifiers there.
We're looking for a sponsor for our Scale trip. We go to Scale every single year thanks to our sponsors. We're looking for a sponsor this year. So if you want to promote your company on your, we'll have you on our streams. We will have potentially we'll negotiate everything with you. But if you got pamphlets and things to hand out, maybe a great opportunity. But most important part is you get the warm and fuzzy feeling of knowing that you get to unite me, Michael, and Jill together in person at Scale. And we do a lot of awesome work there at Scale and a lot of streams and things like that. Really great way to promote your company. And we talk about marketing and things. There you go. So if you want to sponsor us for Scale this year, reach out. Michael, where do they reach out to? Where do they go to reach out?
You can actually go to tuxdigital.com/advertise. And there's a whole page right there that tells you why you'd want to do it and how to do it. And you can book a meeting with me to talk about these kinds of things.
Someone's gonna really abuse that.
I mean, I can also just not accept meetings. I would like to talk to you about why you're wrong about Firefox. Okay. No, thank
What
you.
was that product we talked about? Apply directly to forehead. I want to. We want to
I'm
sponsor
going to
you
sponsor the head on.
for chapstick. Head on.
Forehead chapstick.
Well, hey, if you're paying right, we'll talk about it.
I mean, if it's good and we can apply it directly to our podcast, I mean,
there you go.
Sure.
A big thank you to each and every one of you supporting us by watching or listening to Destination Linux. However you do it, we love your faces. Join us in our Discord by going to tuxdigital.com/Discord. You can talk about the show, talk about other things you do. Maybe you're into fitness too. Maybe you're into Linux, movies, TV, all of that stuff we have rooms for on our Discord. For you to hang out in the public and get to know people. You already have something in common. It's Linux. I mean, it's awesome.
And this awesome show.
Yeah. And if you want to watch the show live, you can become a patron of Destination Linux. We record every Wednesday at around 6:30, 6:45, 6:50, 6:55, 6:58, 7, 6:02. It just sometime around then.
Okay, so just show up at around 6:30 and give or take us 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, he's making a joke, but he's not wrong, really, because it does fluctuate when we start, technically speaking.
Michael's always late.
Always. No, I was on time this time to the point where your brain exploded.
But you still delayed stuff because your teleprompter didn't work right or something. You know, you were still working on something like an old dad with a VCR. It was embarrassing, honestly.
What does 12 mean? It's blinking 12. What does that mean?
All right, go to our Tux Digital store, pick up some merch.
LC and other people who are 17. A VCR is an old way of watching a DVD. So, and also to LC and other people who are 17, a DVD is a thing that's a physical item you can watch content from.
A physical item is something you could hold that's not in the cloud in your hands.
Exactly. It's a thing that exists, a tangible thing that exists. Also, if you would like to join us in our patron section, you can go to tuxdigital.com/membership. And Ryan talked about our Discord server. We also have a patron-only section of our Discord server. And if you become a membership, you get access to that
joining right now.
And many other things. Especially, we have at the end of each show a patron-only post show. So join us, tuxdigital.com/membership. And if you'd like to support the show and get some awesome merch, you go to tuxdigital.com/store and get this shirt Jill is wearing, and Ryan is not representing whatsoever and is picking up random things.
He still has his Batman.
Of course he has the Batman. So if you go to tuxdigital.com/store, you can get a bunch of cool merch like hats, mugs, hoodies, t-shirts, all sorts of stuff. And we're getting some new things coming soon.
Yay. And make sure to check out all the amazing shows here on Tux Digital.
Camera cap.
That's right. We have an entire network of shows to fill your whole week with geeky goodness. Head to tuxdigital.com to keep those Linux penguins marching. And I want to do a shout out again. Make sure to check out Michael's This Week in Linux for your source for Linux news. Twill is now live on YouTube Fridays at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern.
You got nothing else to do? It's all right.
Thank you for that glowing praise. You shouldn't be glazing so much on me like that. I mean, come on.
Right. Sorry about that. No, it's very good. It's awesome. Definitely doing it.
He's basically trying to say it's mid.
Don't let him hear that, but it's pretty good. Don't let him.
I'm so glad that was recorded. I'm gonna have that just constantly playing in a loop during the live streams.
That's what you'll go to sleep to. It's like your ASMR.
That would be terrifying. Thank you for coming to the show, everybody.
Michael, you didn't do the closing.
I'm getting to it. You are so impatient. Wow.
So slow.
Are you so impatient? Everybody,
he forgot.
Everybody have a great week. And remember that the journey itself is just as important as the destination.
Yay, the penguins.
I completely remembered to do this part. It's not like we've done it every time for the past 300 something episodes.
All right.
Whatever.
Well, the rest of this is for the patrons. So everybody else, get this show out your mouth.
Okay,
we did it. Yay.
Keep this show out your mouth.
I feel like that's
get it.
That's too much, Will. Too much.
Oh, all right. Next week, everyone.
See you next week.
Bye, everyone. Love you all.
Till next week, keep this show out your mouth.